Welcome to episode 47 of the Serial Chillers podcast. I am your host, Jesse, and thank you for stopping by. So, our very first episode we ever did was Richard Chase, and we took down that episode and the second one because of just such awful audio quality. Today, we revisit that episode and do it anew. We have, for the first time, across the internet with co-host Greg Cameron, joining me also across the internet for the third time, Colton. We get into it today. This one is pretty graphic, guys. Some dark details in Richard Chase. So if you're not into those, get out of here now. Sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 47 of the Serial Chillers podcast.
From the top with feeling.
Yes.
Colton gets it.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 47 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast. We're coming to you from the Super Network studio. I am here across the internet with co-host Greg and his bunker, and he tells me that people have found the location. Before you tell me the story, Greg, how goes it?
Goes well.
Except for the people having found you.
Right. Still, no, I haven't gotten any letters in my mailbox, though. What's up with that? I put a picture of it out there so people could send me letters, and nothing.
They just came to put more stickers on it.
Don't put stickers on the mailbox. Put letters in the mailbox.
So you want letters. That's what's okay. All right. We're going to make it happen, everybody. You guys have seen the mailbox. Greg needs letters. Greg, I'm glad you're doing well in the bunker. I have also with me here across the internet another returning guest. Third episode, second aired. He was part of one of the notorious Lost episodes. Welcome back, Colton.
Hey, dudes. How's it going?
It is going very well. You know that because this is our second time doing it. Thank you.
And my pleasure.
I still think we should take those Lost episodes and make them a Patreon goal. Like,
oh shit!
I know it's got to be worth it though, because
yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll have to talk about it.
Yeah.
So also joining us from the bunker, because I guess I accidentally gave away the location again.
Quote unquote accidentally.
I'm sorry. Joining us live from the bunker with co-host Greg. Welcome, Cameron.
Howdy.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're very well. How is the bunker as the only other guest besides myself that I've seen there? How are you feeling there?
It's not as drafty as I would have thought.
It's a comfortable bunker.
Yeah, it's like one of those, 50s bomb shelter, like Red Scare kind of a things where they made it a home, blast from the past.
I was going to say it's actually it's the set from Blast in the Past.
I didn't want to completely destroy the illusion.
I have the movie posters in the back. I had to take them down.
Just love that Brendan Fraser.
That's the one that he did it for me.
That's the one. Well, glad you guys have joined me. Thank you so much. And I know you guys know how the show works. Let me explain it to anybody that doesn't. Each week, I'm going to sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story, and if you have brought your own story that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about the questions, make sure to ask questions because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never asked questions. Do you have any questions?
I'm confused.
When are apples in season?
See, here's the thing about apples, and it depends on the species. No, just kidding. Welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Tonight, you guys, we have what I'm going to call a remix. So, at the beginning of this series, when we started it, I didn't at the time have a producer or co-host, Greg. I had myself and a very poorly set up microphone. They were the two worst audio quality shows that have ever been put out as a podcast for the first two episodes that may have ever existed. So Greg and I agreed at some point to just let's take those down. The quality isn't up to what we believe now we should. But, we thought the content was there for the episodes. So the first 2 episodes, while no longer there, we wanted to make sure that those killers were covered by us. So today, we're going to recover the lost first episode of the Serial Chillers and talk about Richard Chase.
That's awesome. I'm excited for Richard Chase. I like Richard Chase. Well, I mean, I don't like him. I like the story.
Right. And it's a little bit, I kind of did it because you were supposed to be there and there were some extenuating circumstances to where you weren't able to be there.
Sounds like me.
So
Fear of
they
leaving
were
the
extenuating.
bunker, like
They were
you said.
extenuating. I gave you the out.
It's that anxiety we were talking about earlier. That shit's really a bitch.
But
Just leaving the bunkers a train wreck every time.
I wanted to make sure you were able to get this episode, Greg.
Thank you.
Now you are here for it. So,
Well,
guys,
I'm here for it.
question number 1. In what year is Richard Chase born? You guys can just go verbal answers tonight. Just shout them when you know them.
I'll say 1965.
I'm going to go 69 for obvious reasons.
Colton's going to get 250 points because Richard Trenton Chase is born May 23rd, 1950. Ooh, by the time this episode airs, we might be right around there. This may land very near his birthday. Weird.
If I start slacking off, we could be way past it.
Don't slack off. All right, so we're going to start the game with Colton at a 250-0 advantage over Cameron. I think we've got 7 tonight. 7 questions. Let's go.
It's like playing on a par 3 course.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a short one. There might be 8. I just don't want to scroll the bottom to find out. Let's make it a mystery, you guys, and we'll do it together. So, Richard Trenton Chase, born May 23rd, 1950, is an American serial killer who killed 6 people in the span of 1 month in California. Quick 2, question number 2. What will become Richard Chase's nickname? Is he going to be A, the Blood Killer, B, Vlad the Bad, C, Vampire of Sacramento, or D, the Northern California Blood Bandit?
I'm
What
going to go
is
with the
the,
Vampire of Sacramento.
What is the Blood Bandit?
Cameron going Blood Bandit, Colton going Vampire of Sacramento. Colton scoring points on the first 2 questions because Richard Chase will become known as the Vampire of Sacramento. All right.
Damn.
Colton, who knew you were coming with it
You were
tonight?
right there, though, Cameron. You were there. You were in the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, horseshoes, hand grenades, and all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
Those are things you say when you've got.
It's cool. I usually start strong and then totally bomb it and lose.
I'm counting on that.
See, what I do is I start weak and then finish weak, but the key is to be weak in the middle as well.
That's how to really get them.
Consistency.
I'm just gunning for participation trophies, man.
Okay, so the reason he's going to be known as the Vampire of Sacramento, as you guys might have guessed, is eventually he's going to drink the blood and eat the internal organs of some of his victims. He had this delusion that he was losing blood and that Nazis were turning his blood into powder via poison they planted under his soap dish. So we can start early by saying that there's obviously some level of mental instability taking place here.
You think?
So not a lot of medical training either, because typically you don't drink the blood to replenish that.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, back to grade school when we covered this.
No. Your science is flawed because you drink alcohol and it winds up in your bloodstream. So you drink blood to get blood into your bloodstream. Into your powder stream, I guess, is the case may be. Into your Nazi powder stream.
You heard?
Is the case may be.
So
Okay.
he's also at some point going to believe that his mother is involved in helping with this grand Nazi soap poison scheme. So
This
again,
guy's so far out, he thinks his mom's a Nazi sympathizer trying to poison him.
It's going to get good. But let's go back and say he's born in 1950. He's raised in a very strict household. Some reports are going to say that he's beaten by his father, but more reports say that it's 1956 and he got his ass whipped sometimes. And that was like, yeah, so did he and every kid on that street. It was very common for the time. He was being spanked in the early 50s.
So what you're saying is child abuse ran rampant in the 50s.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. By today's terms, that would be it. But that was, I'm not saying that it was right then. I'm just saying that that's what, when we look back now and say he was in an abusive household, it was very common for the time. And what he did is not going to be very common for the time. He attended Mira Loma High School. He's besides the beatings, very normal childhood. He has some of these delusions a little later on, but he attends Mira Loma High School. He obtains pretty much just C's through F's. His sophomore year is arrested for possession of marijuana, and he is ordered by juvenile court to work on the weekends in the work program. So he had community service. Somehow he gets through high school. He gets a diploma. Good for him, I guess. Throughout his late teens here, he's going to become a pretty bad alcoholic with a penchant for killing and mutilating animals and starting fires.
It's a bad sign.
As you do.
In my late teens, I was a pretty bad alcoholic too, but I didn't kill things and start. Well, I didn't start any fires.
So he's. I didn't find anything about him being a bedwetter, Greg, but.
I mean, I know where you're going with that, but let's expand on that a little more.
Well, I
insinuating something?
if you had let me speak the next sentence, that is what I would have been going with. He doesn't complete the McDonald triad, which we see in a lot of serial killers. I know we talk a lot, and maybe not the definitive end-all, be-all, or even the correct thing, but it is very commonly attributed to serial killers. So I always just like to bring it up and see if the killers we are featuring complete it. So, yes, there's your more context, Greg.
It's head injury, bedwetting, and was it fire?
Arson, yeah. So he was into the arson. He's constantly throughout his childhood. There's nothing about him having any significant head injuries, but he always complained about his head hurting. And his parents, after a while, they realized he was faking it for attention.
His brain's too big for his skull.
Or he was sick. Well, that's incorrect, actually, Greg. Throughout his life, he would think that he thought that his brain was shrinking, and it was being taken from him.
Dude's just a hot mess, man. Nazis are stealing his blood. His brain's shrinking.
Mm-hmm. It's
that time.
Yeah. So
you know how you cure that though?
What's that?
Drink blood.
Oh, I was gonna say eat some garlic.
So throughout high school and his late teens, he has a handful of girlfriends. He's not really able to maintain any steady relationship, partly or mostly due to his inability to maintain an erection.
That's cold, Colton.
Yo, fuck that guy.
And because of an inability to become aroused in the presence of females. So he could get hard, but he couldn't stay hard. And if it was just a girl, he couldn't get hard at all.
Well, what needed to be brought in? I think
he did his own thing and came in to the girl and couldn't. We don't really.
Was there like a lucky lampshade that he had that just every time did it for him?
Yeah, it was. And it came with a note that said, "From your friend Ed Gein."
Oh,
so he's not going to be able to get it up throughout most of his life. He's counseled by a psychiatrist because of the ED and the way it's like affecting him as a person. They say that the suggested cause was due to his suppressed anger, and also thought that he might be suffering from a mental illness. The psychiatrist wanted to dig in a little more, and find out what was getting to the root of this. And she set an appointment. I shouldn't say she. They set an appointment. They had it all ready to go, and Richard Chase never returned. So he didn't want to be told that he was sick. That's who wants to be told they're sick.
Not me. That's why I don't go to the doctor.
So she says, the psychiatrist says that they believe he's got some type of mental illness. They want to dive into it a little bit. They want to talk to him a little more. Let's figure it out. Let's make you better. And he says, I'm not coming back. It would later be determined that he had an aversion to conventional sex and could only achieve arousal and orgasm through violent or disturbed acts. So that
does lead me to believe that there was some sort of abuse,
because
that's usually a trademark sign of abuse. Is that, and I am by no means an expert on any of this, but just from what I've learned from like Loveline and shit, that kind of stuff resurfaces later in life as, I don't know, I don't want to say a turn on, but as the only means of arousal.
I think to me, because like I said, like I think that he was getting his disciplinary action through physical means, but there's no, I mean, as in the research that I have done, not that it is scholarly in by any sense of the word, but it seems I can't find anything. But what I do think is that this is a mentally ill man, and
for sure,
and that maybe that has more to do with it than anything really from his past. More that there's some unfortunate chemical imbalance inside him that has caused him to find sexual arousal from, killing animals and necrophilia. Right out of high school, he's been drinking a lot. He's smoking a lot. He rents an apartment with these friends. He boards up the closet and the room doors and continues his heavy use of marijuana inside. So he's pretty much boarded himself up from the outside world. And he's just smoking pot in that room, going in and out through the window. Roommates asked him to move out. He said, no. So they all moved out, and he couldn't afford it by himself anymore. So he returns.
Then the landlord asked him to move out.
Yeah, exactly. So he returns to his parents' house. As a young adult, he's living with his mother now, actually. And this is when he begins to accuse her of attempting to murder him via poison with the Nazis. He's like, if you haven't thought by now that he's gone off the rails, it's starting big time now. And everyone around him is kind of worried, but a lot of people are just kind of letting it roll off their backs. Like, he's a weird kid, like, so it starts bugging his parents so much that his dad rents an apartment for him. Like, yeah, fuck this. Here you go. Here, buddy. You have this place. It's all yours. I'm going to pay for it. You just can't live here anymore. So Richard Chase is back out on his own, and as we know, he's not very, stable.
I think he seems perfectly fine.
Probably not the best at taking care of himself.
Nope. Which brings us to question number 3, which is open-ended, no multiple choice. What is Richard Chase's favorite flavor of smoothie?
Oh, fuck. So many options.
It's gonna be.
I want to guess on this one too.
It's gonna be 1,000 points if you nail it.
I want to say like something strawberry banana. Why not?
Strawberry banana from Cameron, because he's a little bananas.
That's a solid bet. Now I have to change my answer.
Damn. I'm having a really hard time thinking of this one. I'm just gonna say like a chocolate vanilla kind of thing. Well, yeah, like a swirl. What's that called?
Yeah, that's a chocolate vanilla swirl. Yeah, he's a half
Neapolitan without the strawberry.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know my shakes very well. My bad.
My guess is people. It's people flavored.
Nobody's going to get points. Greg is going to be the closest because when he moves in on his own, he begins catching rabbits out in the backfield and catching any stray or pet animals that he can, removing their entrails and parts of their bodies and blood and dumping it into a blender and blending it together. And he is drinking it. He killed a neighbor's pets at least once, and then after the fact contacted the neighbor by telephone to explain what he had done. Chase, Go ahead.
I don't. Do you watch? I mean, do you have Netflix? Have you watched the Santa Clarita Diet?
Yes.
Okay, you remember that scene where Drew Barrymore's making the smoothies in the thing
Yeah.
out of the guy?
Yeah.
Oh, out of Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think of with this. Is that this guy is just like, just trying to live a normal life. Just happens to be making neighbor dog smoothies and trying to function like he's gonna get on the bus and then go find a job.
I wouldn't call that functioning.
Well, I wouldn't call it functioning either, but that's just what that's what I picture in my head when you were saying that was basically Drew Barrymore as Richard Chase.
I feel pretty dumb being on a serial killer show and being like, oh yeah, it's probably chocolate. Like, no, dude, it wasn't chocolate.
I get strawberry banana. My menu choice is on a Starbucks drive-through.
Don't feel bad. You have a 500-0 lead.
Could be worse.
So what you're saying is I can feel bad. It's
You have
0.
Cameron has permission to feel bad.
This is the Serial Chiller podcast where at least one person goes home with hurt feelings.
And the other person is like, "What I win?" And I'm like, nothing.
Sometimes that's who goes home with hurt feelings.
Yeah. So Richard Chase's explanation behind drinking these smoothies was that he was preventing his heart from shrinking. So in December of 1973, Richard Chase enters into the American River Hospital in Sacramento. He tells doctors that someone had stolen his pulmonary artery and his blood flow had stopped. Docs, I'm here. My pulmonary artery's gone and my blood's not moving. I need your help.
They probably
did this
admitted
dude
that
have
guy.
some kind of like medical training? Because that's not like street knowledge in the 50s, is it?
Well, by now, it's 1973. He's 23 years old now. So he's... and we'll kind of find out towards the end that... you know what? Let's just keep going. Before I jump to the end, you'll see. So, at this point, when he goes into the hospital saying that his blood stopped and his pulmonary artery is gone, he's admitted to the psychiatric ward. But his mother takes him out as soon as he's able to. He was telling doctors while he was in there that his fear about his heart and his pulmonary artery was that it would shrink. If it shrank too much, it would disappear and he would die. He believed that his vascular system was also being stolen one piece at a time by the Nazis.
And Johnny Cash.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. In 1975, Richard Chase was involuntarily committed to a mental institution after being taken to the hospital for blood poisoning. How did he contract this blood poisoning, you ask? He contracted it after injecting a wild rabbit's blood directly into his veins.
Dude.
Yes.
How did he know he and the rabbit were the same blood type?
That was going to be my question. That was what I was going to follow that up with.
That's like a terrifying thought to think of doing that, man. Like, God knows what those animals have.
Right. So he gets a blood poisoning, and he goes into the hospital.
Poison blood, that's what they have.
Do some cocaine about it.
Got ghosts in your blood.
So he is being treated for the blood poisoning, and then they're obviously going to take him into a psychiatric hold. He's been fucking injecting rabbit blood into his veins.
Was he forthcoming with that?
What's that?
Was he forthcoming with that? Like when
Yes,
they
everything that I'm telling you,
and they were like, "What happened?" And he was like, "I've been injecting rabbit blood in my veins." Or was he like, "Fucking, I don't know."
You fucked up.
no,
Stepped on some sea glass at the beach.
No, I think he's legit doing that because he's very open with like, well, if I have to do this because they're taking my bloodstream, you see, like if I don't keep replenishing it with this rabbit's blood, then I'm going to die because I won't have any blood. All my blood is turned to powder, so I need the rabbit's blood to survive.
Was it so it'd be quicker? Like so he could escape the Nazis that were trying to steal his blood?
Oh man, I wish I knew.
Powerful hunches.
That's right. He's going to be treated for the blood poisoning, and then he's going to be taken to a psych ward. But he escapes right near the end of his treatment for the blood poisoning before they can take him to a psych ward, and he goes and lives at home with his mother. He made himself believe that he was reincarnated as one of the younger brothers of bank robber Jesse James. Okay, so he's hospitalized after this at Beverly Manor. He's committed as a schizophrenic suffering from somatic delusions. He still teetered back and forth between his mother and father's house at this time. So he's like essentially going like institution, mom, dad, who have split up at this point. Mom, dad, institution. I wonder why. He's kind of doing a lot of bouncing around, and it's obviously affecting him. And we're still talking here. We're like in like a 2-year window. He's 25 now. You know, there's a lot of shit happening in the life and times of Richard Chase. And we haven't even gotten to where he kills someone yet.
Damn, I keep like picturing him as like an older man already, like in this story.
Yeah, he's 25.
Just all old and senile.
Yes,
He's a shit old man.
He's a young man.
Well, here, let's put it into perspective real quick, Colton. How do you expect an old man to catch a rabbit?
No, I know I get what
gotta
you're
be
saying.
spry.
It's just like the picture that I have of this guy in my head for some reason.
Well,
You got to be agile.
he gets
It's not that he needs to catch a
Greg
rabbit
is
and
just
drink
Greg's
its blood.
pushy tonight. He's living at his mother's, his father's. He's going into institutions. So at this point, what better to do? Go on welfare to, as he called it, have some extra spending money. Huh?
You know, I fucking hate it when I hear my retirement plans thought out by some serial killer fucking 40 years ahead of time.
So around this time as well, he's living with his mother. In a heated argument with her, he slaps her in the face, which knocks her to the ground. He was apprehended after this and sent to an institution for the criminally insane, where he often shared with the staff fantasies about killing rabbits. Wascally ones, he always said. He was...
No. No, he didn't.
He was once found with blood smeared all around his mouth. Hospital staff discovered that he captured 2 birds through the bars on his bedroom windows, snapped their necks, and sucked out their blood.
Caught them through the bars?
So he would find things to feed them, from what I can understand. And there wasn't like a one-time thing, you know. He'd put some stuff out on his window, the birds would come, he would kill
He
them.
had to gain their trust.
They would find birds outside his window. I'm not saying he did like 100 or anything, but it is reported by the staff that he killed some animals to suck their blood out.
That makes more
hunter.
sense than what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Is that he had arms like Mr. Fantastic and would just reach through the bars and grab them.
Why wouldn't he just get out with those arms?
Because he can't bend bars. He can just stretch hella far.
He could reach for the keys.
No, Milo. Not the cheese.
Not the cheese.
So he's killing birds. He's sucking their blood out. Among themselves and the staff, the patients, they all begin referring to him as Dracula. So early names here. So he's undergoing a battery of treatments involving psychotropic drugs. He was deemed no longer a danger to society and released in 1976. But he was released to the recognizance of his parents, so they were responsible for him. He was out on a myriad of medications, mostly anti-schizophrenics, and his mother decided that these were not important for him to be prescribed and began to wean him off them.
She just got tired of mixing them into his rabbit smoothies.
What a fucking idiot. Just grade A class
So,
act fucking
This,
idiot.
realistically, that move right there could
Like,
be.
She should go to prison.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
know.
she's
I'm
probably
just
dead, so
talking
it
out
wouldn't do
my
a whole
ass.
lot of good. but-
Yeah. But no, yeah, it's what if your son is, I mean, whatever. Let's move on. I'm going to fucking talk 20 minutes about how stupid that is.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that could be
Dive
the
into
moment.
it, Jesse. Let's talk about it.
It's his, I think we're talking like 7th or 8th time in a mental institution. He comes out and they're like, hey, we think he's okay now. Let's keep him on these drugs. And his mom's like, I don't know what he's talking about.
I wonder if it was like a.
She's just as crazy as her son.
Do you
Yeah.
think it was like a pride thing? Like she couldn't deal with the fact that she raised a kid who needed to be on medication, so she took him off of it? Or
Who the fuck
do you think it was just
knows?
inconvenient for her, or she just
She's
didn't give a
probably
fuck?
severely mentally ill herself. She sounds
Maybe
like
she was
it.
proud. She's like, dude, my boy can reach through the prison bars, grab himself a snack, and hold himself over till lunchtime shows her up. So,
This guy is resourceful.
Oh my
He's a
gosh.
survivor.
Yeah, well, no. At the same time, he's developing a fascination for firearms and purchases several handguns, including a .22. So he's being weaned off his anti-schizophrenic medications
And buying guns.
buying guns. Correct.
Well, you can only get one or the other. You either get anti-schizophrenic medication or you get a gun, but you can't have both. So you've got to make a choice.
Yeah, I blame the American medical system for making prescriptions so expensive.
Yeah. You just can't afford ammo and pills.
Who wants a balanced gun owner? I don't.
So they also said that with these new weapons, he practiced obsessively. He became fascinated by the crimes of the Hillside Strangler, who we covered in episode 3. So you can listen to that. I think that's the first episode of, we took down the first 2. So that's the first episode available. Was the Hillside Strangler. So he was also, he thought that the Hillside Strangler was also a victim of the Nazi UFO conspiracy he believed he was the victim of. That's right, Greg. He's worked UFOs into the situation.
Well, I was thinking I was going to hold my tongue and reserve that for my final thoughts a la Jerry Springer, but I will go ahead and pitch my idea now. It sounds like he's been abducted by aliens. It really sounds like he's been abducted by aliens because schizophrenic tendencies are like a big part of that. Believing certain pieces of him are missing or going missing piece by piece on the inside, like that could be reminiscent of them doing experiments and
They're taking him and sending him back without a kidney, and
not
I can feel
necessarily
they're taking
even
my kidney one piece at a time.
Not even that, but like maybe replacing it. Like taking some of his cardiovascular system and replacing it with something artificial to see if it works. I mean, that sounds like an alien experiment. Fuck it, why not? But it sounds like he believes something like that was actually happening, and it was too crazy to tell somebody, so he kept it to himself and just drank rabbit blood.
I mean, that's what a normal
this
person
guy.
would do.
Yeah,
Greg gets this guy.
Greg kind of resembles Richard Chase a little.
Physically?
Yes.
Send help.
Cameron is now trapped in the bunker with him.
Not for long.
It's okay. He puts the passcodes next to the doors with sticky notes. How I got in.
So if you find it, all right. So I'm so glad that it just changed from just the Nazis to the Nazi UFO conspiracy. He also began to lose interest in caring for himself, neglecting hygiene. He doesn't bathe. He doesn't brush his teeth. He doesn't brush his hair. He stopped eating. He drops down to 145 pounds. I believe he's over 6 feet tall, or very near. He's a very long-looking gentleman. One day in 1977, Chase rang his mother's doorbell and greeted her by thrusting a dead cat in her face. He had it, think 2 hands, and was like, ugh, like puts it in her face.
Look what I brought you.
Yeah, and she's like, what the fuck?
Remember those
I'm
pills you
sure-
didn't let me take?
Yeah, exactly. So
Fed him to this cat. Happy Mother's Day.
he then throws thanks, Russ. He then throws his cat to the ground right in front of her. He kneels down with his bare hands, rips its stomach open, and sticks his hands inside the cat, smears the blood all over the face while screaming and eating the insides of the cat.
On his mom's porch.
On his mom's porch. Question number 4. What did his mother do about this? A, nothing. B, help clean it up so the neighbors didn't see. C, call the police. D, have him institutionalized again.
Clean up. She's the best mom ever. She's going to clean that up. Make him a sandwich after and everything.
Cameron says,
Mind your own
say-
business, Barbara.
That was my first thought too, that she'd help him clean up because she kind of sucked at having, anything to do that was beneficial for him before, actually. So she probably just hid that shit some more.
Fucking enabler.
Yeah.
Colton also saying clean up. Greg, you want to get a guess on this one?
People flavored. Wait, sorry.
All right.
Strawberry.
Nobody's scoring points on that one because about this, she did nothing. It is said that she
there.
calmly returned inside the house and did not report the incident to anyone.
I like to imagine that she just slowly shut the door.
Like Peter Griffin style. So on
Draw the
August-
shades on the windows, shut the lights off inside, go back and just sit in front of a fireplace and think about what she's done to her child in the world.
That actually turned that
Exactly.
nasty ass thought into a really funny one.
So on August 3rd, 1977, Nevada State Police discovered Chase's newly purchased, but not new, Ford Ranchero lodged in a sand drift near Pyramid Lake, Nevada. Inside the Ranchero were 2 rifles, a pile of clothes that were drenched in blood, a bucket full of blood, and in the pocket of one of those clothes, what appeared to be a liver. Once the officers tracked down Chase, who was fairly nearby, screaming, soaked from head to toe in blood. When questioned, he claimed that the blood was his own and that it had leaked out of him through his flesh.
That's a medical condition.
Question number 5. Where did the blood actually come from? Was it A, his first human victim? B, it was his blood? C, a cat? D, a cow?
How big of a bucket are we talking here?
No hints.
I'm going to say his first victim. Let's just take that in that direction.
Nah, I'm going to say cow.
5 questions in. Cameron's on the board. It was bovine. So we've got 250 to 500. It's getting a little closer. It was a cow. He was out in these fields. He was on private property. He killed a cow. He got a fine. He didn't go to jail for it. He was a fucking weird guy. He killed a cow. Later,
Hematidrosis.
What's that?
Hematidrosis.
Oh,
That's what happens when
blood.
you sweat blood. It's blood vessels rupture and they get into your sweat glands and makes you sweat or cry blood.
How about that?
I bet if he'd used the medical name, he probably could have got away with it. Just, I have hematidrosis. I'm just sweaty. It's hot in the fucking desert.
The way it's described, he was just like sprinting, going, like running around like a fucking madman.
Sounds like something out of Super Jail.
Yeah, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
Done properly, yes.
So later on, he's going to buy a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol for $69.99 cash.
Thank you, Sears.
Could not pick it up until December 18th. So this was December, I believe, 17th. So he had to wait till his 10th day. His credentials had to be verified. Yes. On December 27th, he fired his .22 handgun into the home of a Sacramento woman. A police search of the woman's home found the slug in her kitchen, but no one was harmed. 2 days later, he's going to kill his first victim in a drive-by shooting. So we're talking escalation here, right? Like, it's small animals, it's rabbits, it's dogs, it's ripping a cat apart in front of my fucking mom.
Then cows, bigger animals.
Cows.
Right.
Yeah, don't forget the cows.
Yep,
they are
that's
delicious,
true.
but they're cows too.
Yeah, a cow. Well, I'm assuming he didn't do it in the proper way and then covered himself in the blood of said cow.
He did it like a tauntaun.
Right. Yeah. So then he does a drive-by of a house, and he's probably unsure of the outcome, and then probably hears in the news that no one was harmed and was bummed out by that. So he goes ahead, and 2 days after this, so this is going to be December 29th, 1977. Was that 4 days after Christmas? Wonderful. He's going to fire 2 shots out of his car at a gentleman who is getting groceries out of his trunk in the driveway. This gentleman, Ambrose Griffin, is going to be struck twice in the chest, and the bullets will kill him. Chase speeds away and gets away. A few weeks later, he's going to be institutionalized as being a paranoid schizophrenic on an unrelated note to doing the drive-by shooting. He complained while institutionalized that his head kept changing shape and that someone had stolen his pulmonary artery once more. On January 11th, 1978, Richard Chase asked his neighbor for a cigarette, then forcibly restrained her until she gave him an entire pack. So he's out now. Sorry. Just a few weeks later, he's out. He's good, guys. Don't worry about it. He really wanted those cigarettes. He essentially takes her inside. He puts her in a chair. He doesn't let her get up and says, like, give me a whole pack or you're not leaving. And again, it's the escalation. He's killed someone, but I think now he wants to make it a little more personal. And I don't know why he didn't kill this woman this day. Maybe he realized, like, God damn, I can't fucking kill my next door neighbor, son of a bitch. So
Too obvious.
yeah, apparently he tied her up while in the apartment as well. So 2 weeks later, he attempted to enter the home of another woman, but finding that her doors were locked, went into her backyard and walked away. This is kind of his famous line, and a lot of people know him with this, is that later he tells detectives that he took locked doors as a sign that he was not welcome, but unlocked doors were an invitation to come inside. Using, like, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, like, actual vampire lore. Like, vampires can't go into anywhere they're not invited. And he's like, oh, well, locked doors? Like, I guess I can't go in here. Unlocked, you say? You must be saying come in and take whatever you like, as I am the vampire. So I thought that was pretty...
Yeah, but I mean, he kind of put his own spin on that.
No,
because
I do-
vampires actually have to be invited.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think it's kind of weird.
Yeah, no,
to say.
I definitely see the connection though.
Yeah. So
He just did what he wanted with
he
them.
took his own liberties with it. While wandering around the neighborhoods, this is what they said he would do at night. He wouldn't sleep. He'd just kind of wander around, and imagine, like, he looks like a homeless person, I'm sure. He's just covered in filth. When he would kill the rabbits and shit, the blood would get on him, but he wouldn't clean it off himself. So it'd be on his hands, it'd be on his mouth, it'd be on his fucking clothes. And he wore this like bright orange parka, and you can see it in some of the pictures of him. Like, he's wearing it. He's a very, I don't know. I can't imagine seeing this guy walking around town and not recognizing him, you know?
Well, and you said he didn't like bathe or anything like that.
He's
So I
just-
can only imagine like walking past him on the street was just awful.
Probably real sticky. So he's walking around and he flags down a car and attempts to get a ride from a girl he attends high school with named Nancy Holden. So he's like, oh, it's like Nancy, waves her down. She comes over and is like, oh my gosh, like, is that Richard Chase? What the
Stinky.
fuck? Yeah. And she notices that he had some blood on him, and she kind of didn't like the look of him. So she agreed, or does not agree to give him a ride, and goes ahead and just kind of heads out on her way. I'm not heading that way, Richard. Sorry, I can't give you a ride. So his appearance is literally just like scaring people that he knows away. So right after being denied the ride, he goes down the street where he breaks into the home of a young married couple. Inside their home, he steals some of their valuables, urinated into the drawer of their infant's clothing, and defecated onto their infant son's bed. The couple came home while Richard Chase was still in the house, and the husband attacked him, trying to restrain him so the police could come, but Richard Chase was gangly and was able to escape. He continued to attempt to enter homes until he came across the home of David and Teresa Wallen. David was at work, and Teresa, 3 months pregnant, was in the middle of taking out the garbage and thus had left the front door unlocked and possibly open. She was walking out to the fucking trash can.
Jesus, it was like he was waiting for it.
Yep.
So scary movie. He just slipped right in.
That's exactly it. He slips right in, and when she comes back into the house, he surprised her with 3 shots. One hits her in the hand, which was likely a defensive wound, and 2 of them hit her directly in the head. It was the same gun that was used to kill Ambrose Griffin. Chase, let's call it trigger warning here. I guess I didn't write it in, but I know it's about to happen. So if you guys, I mean, I don't do this a lot because I don't go into the graphic details, and I try not to get too graphic here. But it's hard to convey the sickness of this man without giving you some of these details. So if anybody's not interested in those details, skip ahead a few minutes, and we'll see you there. See you, Colton. So when he kills her, she obviously falls to the ground. He takes her, drags her into the bedroom, and rapes her body post-mortem while repeatedly stabbing her with a butcher knife. I'm not sure if he brought it himself or if he found it there, but repeatedly stabbed her with her dead body with that. Once he had finished doing what he did with the body, he carved the corpse open and removed several of her internal organs, using a bucket to collect the blood that had pooled inside the body cavity, and then taking it to the bathroom to bathe in it. He then sliced off parts of her body and drank her blood, using an empty yogurt container as a drinking glass. Before leaving, he went into the yard and found a pile of dog feces and returned to stuff it into her mouth and throat. So let's take a little break here. We'll take a little breather. I know it's getting deep. It's only sadly going to get worse, and we're going to kind of cover a little bit, more detail than maybe some of us are used to covering on the show. So we'll hit you with another trigger warning. But again, Richard Chase can't really be explained without it, I don't think. So
I'm finna throw up.
yeah, I know. So let's take a break right now. Come back or I'll kill you.
You know what bothered me most about that whole first segment there?
Hey guys, you were just listening to me, but it's me again. I'm just here to reiterate the Patreon. Patreon is really great because you can give as little as $1 a month to it, and you help the show keep moving forward in a way that is potentially great for you and me, because I won't have to work a regular job, and you guys get a better, more often podcast. Win-win if you ask me. So patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast is where you can do it. We appreciate everybody that has done it. We just gave away $100 based on Patreon donations. So we're trying to give back whenever we can. So thank you everybody who has given. Thank you everybody who's thinking about giving. It's patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast. Enjoy the rest of the show. That's a you, fish tank. All right. Welcome back to episode 47 of the Serial Chillers Podcast. We were just talking before we started recording again here, and Greg was bringing up something that I kind of cut him off on a little earlier about his idea about abuse, and I want you to kind of touch on it a little, Greg, because I think it's important that you.
Well, I just thought that like the kind of violent sexual nature that he has is usually the result of some sort of sexual abuse, not so much physical abuse, or maybe both at the same time. And I figure, I mean, if it had been a parent or a guardian or something like that, I'm sure there'd be some mention of it, either by him or in some sort of document or something. He would have said something. Somehow it would have come to light.
Or as that Cameron said, Uncle Bad Touch.
Yeah, exactly.
Good old Uncle Bad Touch.
Yeah. Maybe like some repressed memory shit.
Yeah, or just another kid on the playground. I mean, the 50s and 60s were a lot more loose with stuff like that. And not necessarily like, I'm not saying kids were going around raping other kids,
were getting
but I mean,
jerked off on the playground.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I meant more along the lines of like kids playing doctor and experimenting. Or maybe older kids who were sexually confused and then took it out on a younger kid who was willing to play along. You know what I mean? And that in turn gave him gay feelings, and that's why his dad was a little more physically abusive to him, and that's what led to associating sex with violence, because the only things that turned him on got his ass beat. And that would lead to the sexually violent things that he does as an adult. But again, I'm not an expert and I don't know. I just listened to a fucking ton of Loveline when I was a kid.
Well, I mean, that's a good way, and not necessarily Loveline in general, but just, the things we absorb from people who are, smarter than us are a very good way to learn, besides being an institution in which you are meant to learn, right? Like,
right.
Listen to people that you know are smarter than you, right? Like, it doesn't mean you have to take everything they say and 100% agree with it, but you should for sure be trying to learn from the people around you. Good shit, Greg. Good shit. Thank you for bringing it up off the air and for bringing it up on the air.
Yeah, for sure.
So, the term trigger warnings. This is gonna get fucked up. It's gonna get bad, and it's gonna get bad for, I don't know, the rest of the episode, honestly. Like, if you want to join us for the last 15 minutes or something, please do, but this is going to get gnarly. So if anybody obviously has any aversion to violence, or if you have aversion to violence, just end it there. But there's going to be some necrophilia, there's going to be some children dying, there's going to be some things that happen right now. So I
tell you what, if they stay till the end, I'll lighten it up with a funny dad joke.
Okay, there we go. So there's a dad joke promised at the end. If you hang
caution,
around.
TVMA. The next segment of the show contains adult situations, mature language, and content that may be disturbing to listeners under the age of 18.
It's
listener discretion is advised.
So on January 23rd, 1978, 2 days after sneaking up and killing Teresa Wallen, Richard Chase purchased 2 puppies from a neighbor, which he then killed and drank the blood. It's almost like it's almost just like you are saying about Santa Clarita, Greg. It's like, I need people. It's like, okay, I got that woman. Okay, like I can do it with dogs this time. Like the dogs will be fine. And he drinks and he's like, it's not enough. So
It's like at a certain point you wonder if the dude just likes the taste of copper, if he's just sucking on pennies like they're lozenges or something.
It's so bad. So he's going to leave the bodies of the 2 puppies that he drinks the blood of out on his neighbor's front lawn. 4 days later, on January 27th, Chase committed his final murder spree, which also qualifies as a mass murder, we're going to call it. Again, gory details ahead, even more so now.
Is this his
This is his final.
Is this his Bundy in the sorority house?
Yet somehow worse.
Oh, good.
So did he leave those dogs like on the neighbor's house that he purchased them from?
I believe that's the case.
Can I get my
Damn.
money back?
Yeah.
These have dust blood. The Nazi aliens got to them.
So he enters the home of 38-year-old Evelyn Marath. She was babysitting her 22-month-old nephew, David. Also present in the home was Evelyn's 6-year-old son, Jason, and Dan Meredith, a neighbor who had come over to help Evelyn watch the kids while she was able to relax for the afternoon. Evelyn was in the bath while Dan watched the children. Dan heard a noise and went out the front hallway when Richard Chase entered the home and shot Dan point blank in the forehead with the .22 handgun, killing him. So before Dan could even say a word, Richard Chase pulled the gun, shot him through the forehead. And remember, we talked about
This guy kills like a bitch.
Yes, but he's very efficient. He trained obsessively with his weapons when he.
Well, he's got his headshots down, it sounds like.
Yes, so
Well, the 22 was favored by Mafia and Hitman because it would not overpenetrate.
right, I kind of did the bounce around.
Yeah, it was-
It's the most deadly round.
It is the most deadly round. That's people treat it like it's a toy, but it's like straight up killing machine.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, Cole, he's killing like a bitch. Again,
Sweet, man. Sweet.
same handgun used in the Griffin and Wallen murders. He then turned the corpse over and stole Dan's wallet and car keys. So he's not just in it for the murders. Like there are things to be had too. The 6-year-old Jason ran to his mother's bedroom after seeing Chase do this. Chase follows him and fatally shot him twice in the head at point blank range. 6-year-old. On the way to killing Jason, the 22-month-old David was in his crib, and he killed David on the way to killing Jason. Shot him in the head, killing him instantly. Chase then entered the bathroom and fatally shot Evelyn, who had barely become aware of the noise. Because the 22, again, small round, Mafia. It's also, I mean, for a gun, it's pretty quiet.
It sounds like smacking two 2x4s together. Softly.
Right. And you can imagine, if you've got like the hot rag over your face in the bath, you've kind of chilled out. Maybe you've even got like the ears below the water thing going on. Like you might just think it's the kids fucking off in the living room and not really. And I don't know. And maybe she was getting out, but I don't know. I think it all happened very quickly.
That's crazy.
So she's in the bathtub. He's gonna shoot her. Let's see. Sorry. Actually, it says that they believe that Evelyn was likely never aware of anything that was happened until Chase entered the bathroom. After killing her, he dragged her corpse onto the bed in the room right next to it. At this time, he simultaneously sodomized the body and drank its blood from a series of slices to the back of the neck. Medical examiners reported.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
That's so fucking gross.
When Richard Chase was finished with his sexual acts, he stabbed her at least 6 times in the anus so deep that the knife penetrated her uterus. He stabbed her in a series of vital points on the body, which caused blood from her internal organs to pool in her abdomen, which he then sliced open and drained into a bucket. He then consumed all the blood over time. He then went to retrieve David, the 22-month-old's corpse, and he went to the bathroom and split the skull open in the bathtub and consumed some of the brain matter. Outside, a 6-year-old girl who Jason, the 6-year-old, had a play date with, knocked on the door, startling Chase. He fled the residence, stealing Dan Meredith's car, and the girl alerted a neighbor. The neighbor, who could not get into the home because Chase locked the door behind him, broke into the Maroth residence where he discovered the bodies and contacted the authorities. Upon entering the home, police discovered that Chase had left perfect handprints and perfect imprints of the soles of his shoes in Evelyn's blood. Chase, meanwhile, took David's corpse home with him, sucked the blood out of the body, and then sliced the corpse open and consumed several of the internal organs.
Jesus Christ, man. Like,
I wonder what the fuck I'm gonna be able to do after this to get all of this shit out of my head.
I'm sorry, man.
www.reddit.com/r/ibleach.
Or,
Yeah.
So the FBI is going to get involved. Obviously, this isn't a very run-of-the-mill murder. So there's local authorities, there's FBI agents, Russ Vorpagel and Robert Ressler. And people have heard of Robert Ressler. He's been around some shit. This is the late 70s serial killer movement. We've heard his name before. We'll probably hear it again. So these two men compile a profile of their killer, and listen how hard they fucking nailed it. They determined that the killer would be tall, malnourished, a loner, physically unclean, and most importantly, he would continue to kill. Yeah, so
nailed it.
Yeah, totally nailed it. 5
I
days.
mean, he's no Fox Mulder, but he did a good job.
5 days after the mass murder, and after hearing the FBI profile, Nancy Holden, will you guys remember her? She's the girl that wouldn't give him a ride a little earlier because she was disturbed by his appearance. She contacts the police.
She had common sense.
Yeah,
Right.
yes, correct. And again, she hears some news, hears the description, and puts 2 and 2 together, contacts the police, and says she believes that they're looking for Richard Chase. Kind of in the middle of all of this, the body of 22-month-old David Ferreira was found in a cardboard box in a vacant lot between a church and a supermarket. The police ran a background check on Richard Chase, where they came across his registration of a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol. Detectives and a SWAT team of police went to Chase's apartment, where they asked to speak with him. When Chase refused, the detectives and police hid down the hallway and waited for Chase to leave. They arrested him when he left the apartment carrying a blood-stained box. His parka and shoes were likewise blood-stained. Inside, he didn't even fucking change clothes and clean up. The cops just came to his fucking door. We're like, we gotta talk to you. And he's like, nope. And went inside and just stayed in his blood-stained clothing.
Stupid as fuck.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, are you all right? Yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah,
Just got to get this bloody stuff inside.
right. So he's covered in blood, and they take him. They take him down, and there's this point where one of the detectives who was there, he was talking about, and obviously it was after the fact, but he was talking about that if he had found Richard Chase and he had found the 22-month-old, like, he didn't matter what was going to happen to him. He was going to kill Richard Chase. Like, he wasn't going to let the justice system take care of it. And what's funny is when I say that, is I watched, I think, 3 documentaries over the last 2 days, and he's in every one of them, and he tells that story in every one. So I'm not saying that he didn't do that, or maybe it's just kind of something he's connected to the story over the years, but just an interesting thing that he was ready to kill Richard Chase if he found Richard Chase in possession of this body. So he was one of the officers who arrests Richard Chase there, and he said that Richard Chase is fighting, and they could see in the box that he has a gun, the .22 caliber pistol. So this detective like puts his gun to the back of Richard Chase's head, and he was like, that's when I realized that, like, I can't kill a man. Like, I'm not him. I'm like that weird. This is what separates us from him. And so he like finishes the arrest, and like, it's a cool, whatever, all encompassing story that kind of finishes out the circle of Richard Chase. But
I just want to know how hard he was fighting. I mean, he's 140 pounds. He's fucking emaciated. He's
I think he's a little more greased up deaf guy than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, no, absolutely.
Never
But
gonna
I don't.
catch me.
I mean,
He's
just-
super psychotic. He's probably got some strength to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that. Probably some rabies too.
So inside
Yeah,
the
dude, I
box,
wouldn't want to get anywhere near that dude. Can you imagine having to fucking restrain him?
Could you imagine the smell? He doesn't bathe. He probably doesn't wipe
Exactly.
his ass. Shit in a crib. You know he didn't wipe.
Like a dead body and all that blood all over you. You're gonna, dude. That's nuts. That's gonna stink so bad.
So it's
So-
all matted in his hair.
inside the box were pieces of shredded, blood-soaked wallpaper and a blood-stained .22 caliber, with which he had committed all of his murders. Richard Chase claimed that the bloody wallpaper and bloody gun were results of just killing several dogs. It's just dogs, man. Come on, I'm just killing dogs. When the
I work for animal control. Do they know?
when the police performed a search of Chase's person, they found that he was carrying Dan Meredith's wallet. So, I don't know about
And
the dog.
liver.
Yeah. Detectives, along with the FBI's Ressler and Vorpagel, performed a search of Chase's apartment. They found the walls, floor, ceiling, refrigerator, and all of Chase's eating and drinking utensils soaked in blood. On the counter was the blender Chase used to make his smoothies. It was caked in coagulated blood and the rotting matter of internal organs.
Because why would he clean his kitchen if he doesn't clean himself? So
Right.
Dude, the smell of this place.
Inside the
Whoa.
refrigerator, police found several animal body parts and wrapped in aluminum foil. David Brains.
Oh, but he'll use tinfoil.
Yes, David's
Well,
brains.
that way he
and-
doesn't have to do dishes.
Yep, David's brains in Tupperware container and pieces of David's body wrapped in saran wrap, and several of Evelyn Murath and Teresa Wallen's internal organs. On another counter were several pet collars. In his kitchen table, he had spread out numerous diagrams depicting various aspects of human biology. There you go, Cameron. He was studying human biology to know how he could get the most blood out of a human and how he can make it pool to the abdomen cavity.
Yeah, it's that pulmonary artery, the one that pumps all that blood really good. That's the one that's missing.
The one that he's missing 2 of.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Well, he's picking up spares.
That's right.
So, there are pet collars all around. He's got diagrams on human biology. They also find a calendar with the word today written and circled on the dates of the Murath and Wallen murders, and an additional 42 dates in the future. Yeah. So
Shit.
he
So
had
he
some-
made himself a treatment schedule.
Were they
he had
evenly
plans.
spaced? Like, was it
I
one a
don't-
week or was
I
it?
don't know. It just said 42 additional dates.
So how many people are we at total right now?
I believe we're at 6. 5 in the house, and then he killed the woman that he snuck up on.
And countless animals.
That is also true.
Everyone in the neighborhood's missing their pets.
Yeah, so he's obviously never going to get out of jail again. In 1979, he stood trial on 6 counts of murder. In order to avoid the death penalty, the defense tried to have Chase found guilty of second-degree murder, which would result in a life sentence. Their case hinged on Chase's history of mental illness and a lack of planning in his crimes, evidence that they were not premeditated. Calendar. Question number 6. Simple yes or no. Was he found mentally competent?
Fuck.
No. Dude, don't shower, puts weird shit in blenders. No, he's not going to be found mentally competent.
I'll say no.
Two
I'm gonna
no's?
say yes because California doesn't have the you can't plead insanity in California.
On May 8th, the jury found Chase guilty of 6 counts of first-degree murder. The defense asked for a clemency hearing in which the judge determined that Chase was not legally insane.
Wow.
So 0 points. Sorry, guys. They're saying, hey, sorry, man. This guy knew what he was doing. We saw the calendar. We saw some evidence that he understands what he's doing, and he is premeditating his crimes. So, really quick into it. Question number 7. What will be his sentence? This one is multiple choice. Will he get the death sentence? Will he serve 200 years? Get life without parole? Or life with the possibility of parole? Death, 200 years, life without parole. life with the possibility of parole?
I'll say death sentence.
No, in California, I'm going to say to be different 200 years because I don't want to say life.
I want to say life without or life with the possibility of parole, because if he can just stay on those pills and his mom would stop taking him away, he'd be fine.
All right.
Also, I know my answer is wrong.
Richard Chase was sentenced to death. Colton's going to strike for another 250.
What? It's the 80s.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot it was the 80s.
And it looks like he's going to put it at a reach with that one and be the winner
Did I
of
finally
this
fucking
episode
win?
of the Serial Chillers podcast. Yes, sir.
All is right in the world.
Congratulations.
So
Gracias.
technically Cameron can still tie, though. I should say that.
I'm just going to say I'm happy with no shutout.
There
Like,
is
as long
a way
as it's
to
not
tie.
a goose egg on my first time round, I'm happy.
Okay, so what has to happen on question number 8 is that Colton, you have to miss it, and Cameron has to get it right. But it is a guess question, no multiple choice, and it is now question number 8. What form of the death sentence was he given?
How was he executed?
Lethal
Fuck.
injection.
The most fucked up way possible. Natural causes.
Cameron says lethal injection. If it's not right, you automatically win, Colton. But do you want to take a guess? Throw a guess in there.
They still electrocuting people in the 80s.
They are not, but they are not giving him the lethal injection either. I'm sorry, Cameron. Colton, you have won one. You have won one. And Greg, yes, it is the gas chamber. It is the gas chamber. Greg, you scored like 600 points tonight.
Yo.
So congratulations to Colton on his first victory.
Finally did it.
Yes, I'm proud of you, I must say.
Thank you.
Yes,
Proud of
absolutely.
myself a little bit.
So, while in prison and waiting to die, Chase becomes a feared presence in prison. Even at San Quentin, he's also going to be transferred to Vacaville for medical help and then transferred back to death row in San Quentin. But other inmates, including several gang members, aware of the graphic and bizarre nature of his crimes, therefore they had a healthy fear for him. And according to prison officials, they often tried to convince Richard Chase to commit suicide. So they're just kind of yelling at him. Kill yourself.
Oh, so it's like being on the internet.
Yeah.
Yo, Richard, you's a bitch.
Kill yourself. Just kill yourself.
So 1980s era prisons are circa 2018 internet forums.
Basically.
Yes.
Yes. Ah, damn it. I had a question. Oh, yeah. Why did they transfer him off of death row to receive medical help and then put him back on death row?
not
It
how
seems
it
like a
works,
bad
man.
investment.
Stupid
You get
shit.
killed when they say
California,
you
just
get
die
killed,
healthy.
bro.
It's a legal requirement. You can't die when
That's-
you're sick or hurt.
Same reason they swab your arm before they give you the lethal injection.
Well, yeah,
They put the
because
rubbing
you don't want an
alcohol on there
infection.
before they stick you with the needle.
Because to die with blood poisoning too would be an insult.
I
So-
bet it falls under some bullshit, cruel and unusual punishment thing. You can't let him live with a mild heart atrophy before you kill him.
Have
might
you
be
seen
right.
videos where they actually do that?
Oh my gosh.
No,
like
what?
sanitizing someone's arm before administering that?
The lethal injection?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I just figured it happened because everybody who sticks anybody with a needle, with very few heroin-filled exceptions,
Yeah.
people generally like to swab their arm with alcohol.
Now we'll have to find out. But while Chase is in prison, he is feared by guards. He's feared by other inmates. Like I said, even the gangs didn't really want to get close to Richard Chase, knowing that the wild shit he had done. Like we said again, they were just trying to convince him to kill himself, and they said that he was doing this because he is too fearful to get close enough to kill him themselves. So he's also
Probably fucking stank in there too.
yeah, he also granted a series of interviews with Robert Ressler, during which he spoke of his fear of Nazis and UFOs, claiming that although he had killed, it was not his fault. He had been forced to keep himself alive, which he believed any person would do. He asked Ressler to give him access to something with which he could apprehend the Nazi UFOs, so that the Nazis could stand trial for the murders. I forgot I wrote another question, but you can't catch up with it. So sorry, it's still over, Cameron. But question number 9: what did he ask Robert Ressler for to help catch the Nazi UFOs? Was it just a good old plain set of handcuffs? Come on, you got to sneak me some handcuffs into prison. Was it a radar gun? C, a big net? Or D, a taser?
I'm gonna go net.
I
I'm
was
in it for
honestly-
the participation trophy.
Yeah, I was stoked to hear that net was in there. That was my first thought.
If it was open ended, I was going for butterfly net.
Yep. Same.
I'm gonna say a radar gun just because he's dumb as fuck.
We didn't catch him, but he was going super fast. How fast? 99999.
I just feel like maybe he'd think that like he could, I don't know,
Shoot him.
Gun it down.
get a spaceship signal with that shit or something.
So during these interviews, he requests of Robert Ressler to catch these Nazi UFOs a radar gun.
Oh,
Yes, Colton's gonna, I guess, add a little insult to injury at the end there. Also, at one point, you guys are gonna love this. Ressler shows up to interview him, and he reaches out to shake his hand, at which point Richard Chase fills his hand with a large amount of macaroni and cheese, which he had been hoarding in his pant pockets.
Ah, that son of a bitch.
Yes.
That son of a bitch.
Yes. Believing that the
fucking
prison
monster.
believing that the
that's
prison
gonna drive
officials
Greg crazy.
were in league with the Nazis and attempting to kill him. On December 26th, 1980, a guard doing cell checks found Richard Chase lying awkwardly on his bed, not breathing. An autopsy determined that Chase committed suicide with an overdose of prison doctor-prescribed antidepressants that he had been saving up over the last few weeks.
Wow.
That's how it ends.
I think if there's pills that you can overdose on, they shouldn't make them antidepressants.
Oh, them shits is dangerous.
Yeah. That's a story for another day. That's
Wow.
the end of Richard Chase, guys.
Good. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, really, seriously, fuck that guy.
So if you want to hear what he has to say now, you have to go watch that cop psychic investigative journalist show, and you can hear him say on an EVP,
I think you just
Clearly.
did it for us.
yeah.
Clearly, he's talking.
So it was very interesting.
That was a good Richard Chase impression.
Thank you. So on the way out, Colton, Cameron, is there anything you guys want to throw out there tonight? Any social medias? Anything you want to plug?
Oh man, not at all.
Perfect. Cameron?
I've got a shameless plug for a podcast.
Do it.
My favorite fiction podcast, since you guys are my current favorite nonfiction podcast, King Falls AM, and they've got 2 Twitters to follow: King Falls AM and then King Falls Sammy.
All right. There you go.
There you go.
Shazam!
And then
Shout out King Balls.
I've got that dad joke we promised for those who
Oh,
wanted
that's
a palate
right.
cleanser.
All right, here we go. If you've made it to the end, here is your palate cleansing dad joke from Cameron.
So, a sheep, a drum, and a snake fall off a cliff. But
Oh,
Oh, wonderful! How wonderful! So, good dad joke.
Most of.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Congratulations again to Colton on his first victory. Yes,
thank
sir.
you very, very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Absolutely.
I guess I should always give him the chance at the end. Is there anything you'd like to throw out there, co-host Greg?
If somebody you know and care about is on medication, don't take it away from them.
Don't attempt to wean them off of it.
Yeah, don't think that you know more than doctors. They don't go to school for that long to be told they're wrong by people who don't go to school. Just, maybe they're acting in your best interest. And I'm not saying all the time, because I absolutely believe there's a cure for cancer and we don't have it, but I know it's not the doctor's fault. So, also at Hella Greg on all social media platforms, and I'm just going to bow out before I say something stupid.
Usually Greg right there just says, no. So that was good. I like that. Thank you for explaining.
That's what
tonight,
happens when I
Greg.
don't say no.
Yes, I appreciate it. Well, thank you, Colton. Thank you, Cameron. As always, thank you, Greg, for hanging out with me tonight late night. And thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 47 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Yeah, boys. Yeah, boys.
Oh, you forgot to say,
Yeah.
don't talk to strangers.
All right, that was episode 47. Thank you guys so much for sticking in there. Some of you may find it a little lazy that we redid Richard Chase, and I don't entirely disagree, but it was just an episode that I knew we couldn't be without, and I knew that if we get far enough down the line, somebody is going to request it again. So I did want to just recover it, but we did go and we grabbed a lot of new information and we kind of covered it a little better. We've been doing it for a year now, and we've gotten just a tiny bit better at finding the good sources and finding the good tidbits. So I hope you guys liked our new rendition of Richard Chase. Congratulations to Colton on his win in this one. Thank you again to both he and Cameron for being here, and co-host Greg as always. If you guys have anything you'd like to add to the Richard Chase episode or something we messed up again for the second time, reach out to us in the many ways. Facebook is Serial Chillers Podcast. There's also a group, which is the Serial Chillers Podcast. Instagram is at Serial Chillers Podcast. The Twitter is at Chillers Podcast. The email is serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com. You can call or text the show 1-805-666-2513. Also, serialchillerspodcast.threadless.com for all your merchandise needs. There's a ton of merch on there. We're going to add a couple new designs very soon. Lastly, patreon.com/serialchillerspodcast. You can go and give as little as $1 a month to the show to keep the wheels spinning. Thank you so much to everybody who has done that. Let me give just a quick shout out to a couple people that I believe I have missed, and I'm very sorry for that. You guys are all owed a shout out because you donated to the Patreon. We have Simply B, Dustin Lind, Greg, Jamie Barbarian, Rachel Towns, Natalie Genesee, and Dennis Nürnberger. So thank you guys all so much for giving to the Patreon. You'll have stickers out and on their way to you soon. Congratulations again to Michelle for winning the drawing. She has also a package on its way. So thank you guys so much for supporting the show in the ways that you do. Co-host Greg and I couldn't do it without you. We have a lot of great announcements coming up. And look forward to serialchillerspodcast.com being the landing place for all those gory details we tend to leave out of the show. So congratulations, Colton. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Greg. And thank you guys for listening to episode 47 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Remember, don't talk to strangers.
Reason or